One, a Star Wars story, is directed by Gareth Edwards, who directed 2014's Godzilla, and it is a spin-off Star Wars movie that involves the team who was involved in capturing the Death Star plans in order to destroy the Death Star, and takes place directly before Episode 4. So this movie ends where Episode 4 begins. So if you're watching this video, you probably know that there are no spoilers, and that's probably why you came to this video, and I wanted to put that in the title of this review because there are actually a lot of spoilers in Rogue One. I'm only going to be talking about what we've seen in the trailers, so don't worry. I'm just going to be talking about the general stuff that we know and just the stuff that we've seen in the trailers, so do not worry. This is going to be a spoiler-free review of Rogue One, and I'm actually going to be doing a spoiler review tomorrow or right after this video. So yeah, I just wanted to get that out there. You guys are safe. I am going to be keeping this video spoiler-free, okay? So let's get started. So I'm going to be perfectly honest. I was excited for this movie, but I didn't have to see it immediately. I could have waited easily Friday night to see this movie, and I just decided to see it Thursday night because I feel as though I should get my review early out there because I wanted to be able to get this video out soon to you guys because I feel as though it's my job. It's my job as a movie reviewer on YouTube to watch these movies and get them out as early as possible for you guys. And I actually am very glad that I saw this movie tonight with some friends, and it's a really good Star Wars movie. It really is. The reason why I really like this Star Wars movie is it feels really, really close to the original trilogy. And what I mean by that is there's so much familiarity, but it's so original at the same time because we see all these different traits from the original trilogy. We see the original like stormtroopers, we see practical aliens and just really familiar starships like the X-Wing fighter and TIE fighters, and it's just so familiar, yet it's bringing something new to the table with these characters and what they're trying to do in the story. I think Felicity Jones did a really good job as Jin in this film. You see that she has some personal issues with a family member, her father, and she has to try and find her father after like so many years of like not being in contact with him because he has something to do with the construction of the Death Star, and obviously, you know, you have to like find him in order to stop the construction of the Death Star or figure out how to destroy the Death Star. So you understood why these characters were coming together, especially her, his daughter, trying to find him in order to just find plans in order to stop the Death Star. Performance-wise, I think everyone did a really, really good job in this film. I think there was a lot of commitment, not just to acting, but there was a lot they had to go through because it felt like they were in a totally different environment of their own. They had to deal with like weather changes, obviously, and just dealing with practical effects, dealing with CGI. I feel like everyone just dealt with it in such a professional way, and it turned out really, really good. One of my favorite characters in the Rogue One team was K2SO, the robot who is kind of like the C-3PO of the group. Picture C-3PO if he was like more sarcastic and witty and just like really, really snarky. It's almost as if they put the brain of R2-D2 in C-3PO because that's essentially like what it is, because we don't know really like what R2-D2 is saying, but we know from like his mannerism and like how C-3PO like responds to him, he's being really snarky. So imagine like if you took these two characters, like the mind of like R2-D2 with like the kind of humanoid structure of C-3PO, and you have this new like droid character. That's essentially what this is, and I really enjoyed it. Everybody was like laughing in the theater, and it was a really funny character. I also enjoyed one of the characters who was a blind guy, and he uses the Force in order to guide himself. Like he can kind of see through the Force, and he's able to like dodge things using the Force. And it was really interesting to see that character throughout this film because he's actually like praying to the Force. It was really cool to see how the Force was being portrayed as kind of like this religious element in the Star Wars universe. So that was really interesting again to see. And it was just cool to see how the Force isn't just for Jedis and Sith. It can be used by other people, such as like blind people. So that was a really interesting concept that I really enjoyed seeing, and just kind of this different corner of the Force, and just how like different people were using it for like their disabilities and like stuff like that. It was a really interesting concept, and I kind of want to see that more in the future with like, you know, different Star Wars characters. I thought it was really cool just to see it being portrayed in this one character and not just like a Jedi or a Sith. Now, the performances are really good, and I was following these characters throughout the story, but was I emotionally invested as I was throughout the original trilogy, like with Luke and Leia and Han Solo? Not necessarily. I mean, maybe with like Jin, but everyone else, like I feel as though these characters were very disposable, really. They were very kind of like just characters that were there just to be characters, but I was very, very invested in the story overall. I was really interested in the story. I was like wanting to see where it went and how it led up to episode 4, and that's really what I got. Even though like I didn't really care for these characters, like I only mid-cared for them, but it was really just interesting to see where the story was going and how we got up to the point of episode 4, and just that familiarity really caught my eye, and I felt like I was back in the Star Wars universe that I was so accustomed to. And you can tell that they tried really hard to match episode 4 in the original trilogy, because there are different, like, you know, aliens that are very recognizable, there are familiar faces. They even got to the point where they took familiar characters from episode 4 that aren't really alive anymore, maybe they've gotten older, and they made CGI interpretations of those characters to match what they looked like in 1977. Like, they went that far. They tried to match the original trilogy to that extent, where they were trying to match the look and feel of those characters, and it was actually really scary. It was really scary seeing like this one character, and it was very weird to look at, because you could tell that it was CGI, but it was so accurate that it looked really, really like just definite to his facial structure and his mannerisms from like the original film, that it was very creepy. I couldn't stop looking at it, and you could tell that it was CGI, but it was just so accurate. It was really good CGI facial structure. I couldn't like stop looking at it. And this film has some of the best starship battles that I have seen in a Star Wars movie. Like I really like the starship battles in episode 7, but I have to say that this spin-off movie has the best starship battles that I have seen in a Star Wars movie. Where this movie lacks lightsabers, it has a huge amount of props, a huge amount of costumes, a huge amount of practical effects, a huge amount of starship battles in this film that make it an actual Star Wars movie. It felt like a Star Wars movie. It was a war movie. That's what I really liked about it. Like, these aren't Jedis. These are like actual, like, you know, Empire stormtroopers. These are actual Rebel Alliance people, and they're using like blasters and grenades, and like you can see throughout this movie that there are stormtroopers being blown up by vehicles that are like exploding, and it was like so horrific sometimes to look at. It was like really war driven, and that was one of the many things that I liked about this movie, was that it looked really gritty, and it was really dark as a Star Wars movie. This film, especially near the ending, is really dark. Like, oh my god. Like, it is a really dark interpretation of the Star Wars universe, and it was just so interesting to see that gritty concept. It almost kind of reminded me of Halo at some points, where it was like, you know, we saw the stormtroopers and everything, and just like these armored soldiers, and it was just really gritty. And if they ever make a Halo movie, Gareth Edwards should definitely direct it, because he's now familiar with kind of like this sci-fi slash military-like gritty type of style, that I think he should definitely direct the Halo movie if it ever comes out in the near future. Now, let's talk about something that you guys probably want to know about. And this is going to be a spoiler. I'm not going to like dabber into it too much, but I'm just going to talk about it because we know it from the trailer. Darth Vader. Oh my god. We're going to talk about that in my spoiler review, okay? Because this is spoiler territory. I will say that it's very redeemable to the last time that we saw Darth Vader in Revenge of the Sith, because this is the Darth Vader that we've been wanting to see. He's a villain. He's menacing. And they got it right. They got it right. It was a short amount of time, but they got it right, dudes. Darth Vader. Oh my god. So yes, guys, that was my spoiler-free review of Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. Comment down below what you thought of the movie. If you've seen it yet, please keep it spoiler-free. We are going to be doing a spoiler review tomorrow. Like the video, share it, and please subscribe to PixelTalk if you haven't yet for more movie reviews, trailer reactions, gaming content, movie news, and so on. I love this movie. I was not expecting to like it this much. I knew I was going to like it because it was like a Star Wars movie, but it was insane, guys. Check out Rogue One. I really enjoyed it. Thank you guys so much. Stay tuned for the spoiler review. I am Corbin Stuckey, and this is Pixel Talk.